Here's another 10-minute reflection. If I know that something is wrong, why do I keep doing it? Why do we stick with things that we know aren't gonna help us? And why do we protect them as almost as if they're inseparable from our identity? Well, the first point we're gonna talk about is immediate reward versus long-term reward. We are animals, even when our pride makes us believe that we're perhaps something greater, that we have the power to change everything. And that is certainly true. We have godlike powers in our imagination, in our ability to see to the future. And that speaks to the best part of ourselves. We can think of ourselves as divided between our instinctual self, our emotional self, and our godlike self, which is the use of our logic, of our brains, of our reasoning powers to build something that didn't exist before. And as a result, we're better off because of it. And which one is better isn't really the question here. They are both useful. We are animals that think. We are also thinkers that feel. And we're both of them in our day-to-day lives. We embody both perspectives. So you can sense that short-term rewards are going to be more appealing to the emotional side of ourselves. This is especially true when we're growing up. Our PFC is not that developed, so we live our lives through emotion alone, right? Through the feel of it. So whenever we have a desire, we think that it's in our best benefit to act upon it. If I get hungry, then I will eat. This is just basic biology. We have drives, we have instinctual desires, which we need to satisfy to survive. But we've gotten very good at satisfying all of these desires, so whatever is left are artificial desires created by ourselves. We want to get into a relationship because we like the connection we feel with others. We like the prospect of engaging in a physical relationship. And it really does speak to us, right? We have that part of ourselves that gives rise to many beautiful things like poetry, novels. We have entire stories dedicated to this part of ourselves. But if we listen to this desire alone, we're going to find out that our relationships are going to be very shallow. Whenever we get the opportunity to change our partners, to cheat on them, we're going to take it because we are being led by impulse alone. On the other side, if we notice this part of our nature and use our intelligence to kind of counterbalance these two sides of ourselves, we can create more meaningful relationships that have commitment at the forefront. And lasting love requires commitment. And if you're not willing to commit, it's because you can't suppress these instinctual drives inside of you. And that's just part of growing up, maturing, and being a little bit more disciplined with your approach to life. So this is just a basic example, but it applies to everything else in your life. Work, if you approach work only by doing what you think you need to do, by what you feel you need to do, then you're going to leave behind some opportunities that you are simply not looking for. Because when you actually think about what it is that you're doing, you are going to find out the most important thing. The One Thing by Gary Keller talks about this. Long-term rewards are going to come from solving the biggest problem in your business. By your biggest problem in your business. But maybe you're just stuck in the loop of simply putting out fires and working in the business as opposed to working on the business. So it's all about whether you're looking at it through a telescope lens or whether you're looking at the bigger picture to see where your effort is better invested. So that's a distinction. Short-term rewards, that's your instinctual side, and long-term rewards, that's your logic, intelligence side. And the best things in life are probably going to come from this side, but enjoyment and fulfillment and just simply being happy in the moment. And just simply being happy in the moment is going to come from this side. So you need a balance of the two. depending on, well, the stage of your life you find yourself in and your needs. So point number 2 is why the easy option is so attractive. This one's a little bit easier to understand because we already have the framework, right? The two selves. In this side, options are going to be very alluring, very attractive because they speak to our emotions. Being happy, being sad, being angry are all very attractive options because even if they are negative emotions, you still feel more alive than when you're bored. The enemy to great success, the enemy to your best self is boredom. Boredom doesn't feel happy, doesn't feel like anything. So you naturally start to look for escapes in whatever, right? Social media is especially very good at this. There have been many studies done about this, which talk about why you're more likely to see sad content, depressive content, enraging content on social media, because it's that much more engaging than just simply looking at a boring or even a happy feed. So these social media platforms are targeting these specific emotions because they know that they make us feel. Even in our body, we can feel the effect of these emotions. When you're angry, your heart beats faster, blood flows faster. You get an almost unsettling feeling that you're a little bit more in control of yourself, even when the opposite is happening. That's why easy options are alluring, because they speak to our animal side. But whenever you think hard about something and you arrive at the conclusion that it's gonna take longer, that it's gonna be harder, that you're gonna have to learn, that you're gonna have to relearn many things that you previously did, it can be very difficult to start because you know that there's a lot coming and that there are going to be many things more in your path. So it's definitely not the easiest option, but it is the most rewarding after you accomplish it. The third point is how habits and environment influence your behavior. We've all read the books like The Power of Habit, Atomic Habits, and they all have a specific chapter on the power of your environment. So really quickly, your environment is going to shape the perspective that you see your life through. If you're surrounded by successful people and you're not successful, you're gonna sense that there's a difference between between the people that surround you and yourself. And your brain is naturally gonna look for a way to close that gap. But let's say that the opposite is happening. Let's say that you're doing pretty well in your life right now, but you're surrounded by people that are not that successful. So you're actually creating a gap in the opposite direction, going down. So even though you may still want to go up, you're gonna feel really good about your situation. You're gonna feel really comfortable where you are because you say, well, I'm doing really good with myself, but that's only because you have this frame of reference. So when you have this frame of reference and you're here, then the situation suddenly shifts. And that's a hidden power that you can use simply to feel some sort of scarcity. It is artificial scarcity, but it's very useful if your goal is to keep going up. Environment is the same as people, and usually it's people which have the most pull on us, not the space you live in or the country you live in. It's the people you surround yourselves with. So that's point number 3. Let's go to point number 4. My own experience with distractions, and I think this ties up nicely with number 5, what I've learned about discipline. I used to think that discipline was the ability to go very hard at something while avoiding everything else and just doing that one thing over and over and over again. And whenever I got tired, whenever I said, I don't want to do this anymore, I did it again until I was simply sick of it and I just had to go to sleep. And then wake up the next day and do it again. That has certainly been one of the biggest mistakes. I did that for 6 months and all I could think about was work. I would wake up the earliest I could, 5 a.m. and I would work all the way until I just passed out in bed and did that again over and over for 6 months. That, of course, is a story I would like to tell myself, but in reality, I could only keep that up for like 5 days, and the next 2 days afterwards, I would be on a binge of things that are not very good for my health, just so that I could breathe a little bit and rest for the things I was doing. So I had 5 very productive days, intensely productive days, and 2 very, very bad days. So that's not a very sustainable pattern. And it's all based on the assumption that you need to control yourself more. This is true, but there's a very important caveat, a very important detail that you shouldn't miss. You can't control yourself wholly. You can't change yourself to the degree that you stop being the person at your core. You should control yourself, but not too tightly. When you control yourself too tightly and you hold yourself together, you miss many things which are critical to your health. It's about putting yourself in a position where you produce your best work. I don't know what the case is for you, but I found out that I produce my best work when I'm well rested, when I'm relaxed, when I'm calm, when I don't have these destructive ideas in my head telling me to push and push and push, almost like a military approach to productivity. And this creates a very big problem, when you approach life with this mentality. This creates distance, this creates separation from what you're actually doing and from what you think you're doing. You're creating a story inside of your head that tells you that you need to keep working, and the solution is to just have more and more hours and fill those hours with as much time as possible. 4,000 Weeks talks about this, and it's the paradox of productivity. We think that if we had more hours in a day, that we would be more productive, when in reality, we need to find those few things that are actually moving the needle forward and concentrate on those. Because it's not gonna come from work, from toil, from labor. It's gonna come from arriving at a novel solution, at an innovative solution to a problem that we may not have thought of if we're not relaxed, if we're not in a good position. Your mental faculties are gonna be best when you're well rested and when you're doing something that aligns with your values. Whenever you feel friction with your work, it's because you're not respecting this rule. You're doing things way above your limits, and when you exceed your limits, you're gonna create friction with yourself. So the more you do it, the less you want to do it. And it's a vicious cycle because you're always pushing down on the accelerator and you're never giving yourself time to think if this is actually what you want to be doing and if this is really the best way to spend your time. So discipline shouldn't be approached in the military style. Just do more and just make yourself do what you need to do. That's the worst way to go about it. The best way for productivity is to embrace your own limitations, embrace that you won't always have a clear head, and simply build a plan, build a system that allows you to do a little bit of progress every single day towards your goals. It's infinitely better to do something every single day for 365 days in a year and keep that rhythm throughout your whole life than doing something for 6 months and then for the rest of your life stop doing it because you got so burnt out that you can't even think about it, that you don't even want to go back to that place. And just the last point, I know I said it was 10 minutes, but I just couldn't stop talking. Let's take the example of exercise. Let's say that you want to get in the best shape of your life. I only give you 6 months. And well, what's that gonna do for you, right? In those 6 months, you're probably going to go to the gym every single day. You could even go to the gym twice a day. And whenever you go, you're gonna put on your best playlist. You're gonna put on some rocky music and you're gonna blast out at the gym and you're going to feel extremely sore day after day after day. And you're probably gonna get injured. That's a rule of life. If you're ever gone very hard at the gym without knowing what you're doing, you're gonna get injured. And after an injury, you're gonna lose faith, you're gonna lose confidence in your physicality, and you're gonna stop going to the gym. So I will give you at best 3 months keeping up that pace. And that's not really sustainable because after an injury like that, you won't return to the gym. It's that simple. It's much better to go every other day to the gym or simply finding a rhythm that works for you. If it's not every other day, maybe every 3 days, maybe every 4 days, maybe even just 1 day a week. The important thing is that you find a rhythm that works for you and that you can stick with it for the rest of your life. This is why it's so important to think about the things you want to do every single day. because you need to ask yourself, and this is simply the most important thing I need to talk about today, which is you need to find something that you wouldn't have a problem doing every single day for the rest of your life. That simply. And this is obviously not very attractive. Remember what we said about the easy option, about the hard option, the attractive option, the not so attractive option. This is not very attractive because why would I dedicate my time to something that I'm going to do endlessly? Well, it's exactly because of that reason. You need to find something that you would do simply because it is fun, it is engaging, and it speaks to you. Especially if it is hard, with time you will find out that it's the best thing you could have ever done. Practicing the guitar 30 minutes a day for a year will make you a better guitar player than practicing 5 hours a day for 3 months. You may make progress faster, but we're not preparing for a concert, are we? We're just pursuing mastery in the things that are important to us. And the best way to tell ourselves that they are important to us is by doing them every single day until the day we can no longer do them. If this makes sense for you, leave down a comment, and thank you very much for listening.